Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of the Suited Kings podcast. Today, I am blessed to hear Wes's belches prior to our recording, and I will say that
you're welcome.
That was very flavorful, my friend. I could literally smell that through my screen.
That's absolutely disgusting.
It smells of rotten breath and coffee.
You know, it probably wouldn't smell of. Have you ever had mushroom coffee?
Ooh, I've heard of it, but I've never had it. Like I see those ads where it's like healthy mushroom coffee.
That's what I've been having recently. You know, it's kind of an in between. It has like half the caffeine and supposedly is healthy in some way.
I mean, yeah, that's got all of those benefits that mushrooms have, which I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I'm sure there's plenty of them.
I'm sure they're, yeah.
Are you talking about like psychedelic mushrooms? Are you microdosing your coffee?
I'm not, but that would be fun too.
Wes's eyeballs literally look like waves right now.
Yeah, it helps. That's what I've been doing this last month during the challenge.
Is that why you've been doing so well? By the way, big shout out to you on having another successful session on Sunday, eclipsing the 50K mark, the halfway. I mean, we'll call it the halfway mark, even though you started at 10K.
Yeah, 55K, I guess, is technically halfway.
And what are you at now? 52, 53K?
After yesterday. So, yeah, I had a good Sunday and then a good Monday. So I'm at 53.6.
Let's go, dude. I mean, literally a few weeks ago, you were at what, 20?
29. I was
a month ago, I guess I should say.
I ended July at 29.5.
You've had like a 30K month.
Yeah. So I had, I played. So, not that this is like, well, no, like as most of you know, I play a little bit off stream too. Kind of just if I see a good opportunity or something.
That isn't part of the challenge. You're saying within the constraints. Yeah, so it doesn't make sense.
The other night there was I was playing some 5-10 and whatnot, and so I finished the session, and then I noticed there's someone sitting at 10-20 on global, and usually when someone's open sitting, it's like
they're a good player,
a good pro. But then I realized it's the recreational who spun it up at 5-10, and I'm like, oh man. So I sat him heads up and we had some incredible hands, but I took like 5K off him,
You sent me some absolute gems in Discord of the hands you played against him. It's like, it looked like the way he was playing, it looked like a 50 no limit game. I'm sorry if you're whoever that is, if you're listening.
Yeah. I think fish 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I hope that's not any of you guys out there, but
just name dropping, that's brutal. That is brutal. Oh god. But anyways, shout out to you and killing it on the challenge. And so a funny story before we get into today's content. Today's actually going to be a really fun episode. We're going to discuss something I think that will really help a lot of players from beginner to all the way up to advanced players. And today's topic is going to be on when should we give up our bluffs? And there's a lot of factors, a lot of variables that will depend on, that we'll draw from, and we'll get into all of that. But before we do, I just want to talk about a little side bet that we made last night.
Wes. Oh, Christ. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead and blow. Whenever Global has a series, they keep a leaderboard, and I usually message West. I'm like, hey, you want to do a little side bet on the series just to see who can get the most points on the leaderboard? And he's like, no, because let's be real, he's afraid of me. But okay. What do you got to say to that, Wes?
No, just
okay.
We'll make a deal. If you win, we just play heads up cash, and if I win, we'll still play heads up cash.
Yeah, here we go. Well, let's do some heads up singos. How about that? Anyways, we made a bet, and it was I won't disclose what our bet was because that really doesn't matter. But it was to see who would win the leaderboard. And he finally said yes last night. And right after he said yes, I went and shipped event 1. So that was pretty
literally. Nice. Was it number 1? Is that technically number?
I think it was. So there's 3 event 1s. There's the low, medium, and high.
Yeah. They do 1L, 1H, 1M.
Yeah. So, I don't want to start this off with unfortunately because a win's a win, but it was the low. So it was $11 buy-in, had 823 entries in it, 821, something like that. And we scooped it to probably be first on the leaderboard right now because it's the biggest. It was by far the biggest entry field of the night.
Yeah, no, that's well done.
So I
I
really look
actually did
forward to
play that.
just
I
being
didn't even
mute.
pull it up on the stream, but I did play that during the stream, and I mean, I max late reg it, and then I kind of just blasted it out. Like, I didn't want a hand. Had I been making a run, I would have pulled it up on stream. But
The best
anyways,
part, Wes, was out of nowhere. I'm literally laying in bed playing this tournament. It's my last tournament of the night. I'm in bed. There's like 20 left or something. And I get a text from Wes out of the blue and he's like, how did your tournaments go tonight? And then I send him a message of me having like 2 million in chips.
yeah,
Um,
you were 2 out of 19 at the time.
and I was 2 out of 19. That's what it was. And he goes, I'm gonna pull you up and anti-sweat you. So he pulls me up and
Yeah,
then he's
no,
like,
it was like it's a low buy-in, so I'm like, I don't even feel bad rooting against you. Like,
no,
I'm
no.
actually in. I was rooting for you by the end.
I
Kinda
know
did
you're
get
rooting for me.
second,
It's
but
okay. It's okay. We have a bet. It's fun. I'm not
yeah,
gonna be butthurt about it. But
yeah.
I thought it was funny because Wes is like, I'm gonna start guessing your hands and then texting you them. This dude guessed 3 hands and got all 3 of them right, or was it 2 hands? I don't remember. But you guessed a few different hands and got them right.
Yeah, the ace 10 off, I got spot on. The kings I got on my second guess.
Yeah,
I don't know if I had another, but yeah, at
it
least
was
2.
fun. It was fun to have you sweat. But then, I mean, he watched me. The final table was pretty short. We ran through. Once we got heads up, I think I had him almost 2-1. It was like 50 bigs to 30 bigs or
Oh, and
something.
I mean,
And he was special. That was a special heads up
you
match.
had
He won
a
0
skill edge
pots.
on him.
What's that?
You had a bit of a skill edge.
Yeah, he won 0 pots post flop. The only time he won a
Mhm.
pot was when I folded pre. So, um,
Yeah. You
that
even
then
ran into aces twice at the final
I
table.
ran into twice aces twice. I think on one of them, didn't I get that? Was I down to like 3 bigs?
I think 4 point something, but yeah.
Yeah. But then we spun it back up and just won the damn thing. I told Wes I was going to win it, and I really wanted the trophy for this one because, as you know, my name is Max, and it's like a stack of, it's a monster stack tournament, so it's like a bunch of chips stacked up with a big M above them, and it'll just look
Mhm.
perfect with all these beautiful trophies back here
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that it would.
if I ever
Got
get it.
it.
Damn it,
Yeah.
global. But anyways, I thought that was a cool way to start it. We won the first tournament of that series, so I got a good lead on what that bet with Wes. Maybe we'll let you guys know how that ends up turning out. Wes is going. I'm not even
I'm
going to be
gonna
able to.
play every single damn tournament.
Well, you're gonna have. I mean, I had to start off hot because I'm going to be leaving for Council Bluffs, Iowa, for the WSOP circuit on Friday. I will not
Yeah.
be playing pretty much at all this entire weekend. So,
Yeah, that actually means it would be kind of embarrassing if I didn't win,
I'm glad you
you
pointed
know?
that out, Wes. I will
Yeah.
make sure to needle it for you when
Okay.
you,
Yeah.
lose. So, yeah, going to Council Bluffs, Iowa this week. Wes is actually staying back because his challenge, he's going to be staying online and doing that grind. I mean, when you're doing well in that, why even bother with
Yeah,
travel
I mean,
expenses?
online's been good. So, I don't even think I mentioned it, but last month, the 30K I made 22 on so, yeah, I made 22 on stream, but the 30K is, like, it's my best month of online poker, just full stop. Um,
Congrats on that. I mean, that's
yeah,
huge for
thank
some. I
you.
mean, you do this for a living, and we've obviously talked about you have losing months too. So it's nice to see.
Exactly.
It's nice to see you come and have a peaking month. I love that.
Yeah, and, just try and continue it, but yeah, I my thoughts on Council Bluffs have kind of been, I'll decide last minute, but I'm leaning towards no, and I'm still kinda like that where it's man, if it was, like, 3 hours away, I would maybe go and fire a couple of I could drive there and back, but 5.5 hours, I don't wanna, like, go back and forth or just, like, go for one tournament, you know?
It's for me the 5.5 hour drive is like unless it's going to be an incredible stop. That's like the peak I want to drive amount of time I
Yeah.
want to drive. I don't usually like driving to Colorado. You and I did that was 13 hours. Like probably
It
flying
was, like,
around.
15, I think it was yeah, anyways, it was a ton of hours.
It was a lot
We
of hours. And then you made me leave at 1 a.m. after I got third in the MSPT. We just drove straight through the night.
Yeah,
That was wild, dude. Uh,
yeah.
Weekend warriors, but nonetheless. It is time, Wes. We have some content to get into. People don't want to hear us, jabber on about nonsense. So let's get into some content that I think will be a lot of fun to dive into today. The good old Bluff, Wes. You and I, we both are fans of the Bluff.
Hmm.
I will say that as I've, grown in my poker journey, my bluffs have become a bit more defined. I know when to do it, when not to do it, when to give up on it, when I'm doing it. But don't get me wrong. Even then, I sometimes still will just, punt away.
Yeah. And one thing I'll say is this is something that Daniel Kennedy suggested for Patreon. And
God, I
I'm going
hate
to,
giving him credit.
I know. And he and I got into a little Twitter beef yesterday too. But
Really?
yeah, I
I
mean, you
didn't
should
see
see
any
it.
of that.
Yeah, you should see it. But I am going to be making a little Patreon video on this too. Maybe getting into a few more specific type of situations. But that being said, yeah, we have a bunch of. We're talking about when should we give up on a bluff, and I've got a list of different type of situations here that we might want to, where we might want to do so. Um, so the first time or the first type of situation where we might want to give up on a bluff is simply if we're in a multi-way pot. Like and this is going to be kind of more vague, but if let's say we see bet the flop four ways, so with three opponents, and all three of them call, and we have a little equity but not that much. Maybe it's like we have king queen on jack 9 3, and then the turn is a 5.
Double
It's like,
barrel.
right, it's like, what's the likelihood we get through three players on the turn when they all call,
I think, yeah, I mean, that's huge. I feel like for me personally, I'm more likely to double barrel on a board like that with those hands or with king queen on a jack nine, 4 or 5, whatever you said. Um,
Yeah.
my frequency is going to be much more increased heads up versus three players.
Yep. So that's kind of one we maybe don't need to dive into as much, because if we were to get really specific on multi-way, I think it would get pretty complicated. But that's just something to think about. The more people that are in the pot, the less, the more, I guess, equity you need, or fold equity you would need to justify betting. Um,
Can I make a quick plug, Wes?
yeah.
My real estate. No, I'm just kidding. That's not where I wanted to go with this. I wanted to say this actually kind of aligns with our episode. You should double and triple barrel more often.
Yep.
Go and check that episode out after you listen to this episode to get an idea of when you should be double and triple barreling as a bluff. And then this episode will kind of tailor to that, where you can know when to give up. And they have some maybe overlapping concepts as well. So I think listening to both somewhat close to each other might be beneficial for the listener.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that was one of our first ones way back when.
Yeah, if you're gonna have to dive deep into the archive to find that one. It's probably a year or two old now, so it's there
Yeah,
though. Check it out. And by the way, Wes, we're on. I believe this is episode 98. We're almost to 100.
it's close. I mean, it makes sense. We started at like right after Council Bluffs 2 years ago.
Yep, yep, yeah.
Do you
Exciting.
remember someone said, he thought we would maybe make it like 8 or 9 months into it and then give up?
That was Louis Hillman.
That was Louis.
You little rat,
Disgraceful.
Louis. Only the Minnesota guys will probably know Louis, but he's a good friend of ours.
Yeah.
He has since retracted that statement, but let's get back into the content here.
Let's
So,
go.
giving up on bluffs, Wes. What are some of your thoughts here? I'll let you start off.
Yeah. So another time when we want to give up bluffs, looking at my notes here, it says when they're an absolute station like max. And
Okay.
so,
You still don't give up your bluffs against me, though.
yeah, well, I know when they'll work, because I know you.
Okay. Okay. Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
Um, no, but in all seriousness, this is more of a live reads thing, or just a read thing in general. If you see someone like consistently calling down with bottom pair or fourth pair, whatever it might be,
Don't run bluffs against this opponent.
don't take your king high and think that they're going to start folding out pairs, right? But the ones I want to focus more on here So one, there's a situation where, like, let's say even if we don't have showdown value, if we block a lot of the hands that we're trying to fold out, and this is one where I have a little more specific example. Um, let's say it's a cash game. Let's say we open from cutoff, big blind calls. We have a flop of Jack 7-6 rainbow check. We bet half pot. They call turn queen of spades. So like bringing a second spade, right? Check. We overbet turn and we'll say we have a bluff. Let's say we have 10-9 of spades. So we have a combo draw now. Our opponent calls river is an offsuit
And we
4.
overbet the turn.
Yep. So board is Jack 7-6 rainbow with one spade, turn queen of spades, river 4 clubs.
So we got a gutter to the nutter with a flush draw on the turn.
Yep. And yeah, so we just have 10 high now on the river.
Yeah.
So essentially in this situation, if we were to bluff again, the the easiest hands we're targeting to fold are like 7x of spades, 6x of spades, or like the nut flush draw. But when we have 2 spades in our hands, the combinations that we're targeting, there's so many less combinations that can fold easily now
So we're
that
blocking the bluffs we want our opponent to have.
yes.
So that makes our hand not a good component or a good hand for bluffing on the river.
Yeah.
And especially when they call an overbet turn, an overbet size on the turn. Like at this point, I mean, we can assume that they've folded second pair and worse at this point. So now we can put them on draws or top pair. I mean, seems fair, right?
Yeah, and by the way, even if they didn't fold, whatever they didn't fold, like, are they going to fold on a blank river like that?
Yeah.
Because if they called you light on the turn, now when all the draws miss on the river, they're probably doing that planning to call on pretty blank rivers too,
Yeah, I
right?
think yeah. So I think a good takeaway from this example, Wes, is being careful bluffing on for example for river bets bluffs specifically, being careful of turning your missed draws into bluffs, because number one, you block the hands you want your opponent to fold, and number two, your opponents are going to recognize that a lot of draws have missed if they're good enough, and will start widening their calling range on the river because of that.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So in this case, like, and we know how I like to get validated by GTO Wizard. So in this specific example I pulled up,
Wait,
um,
let me pause you. Between GTO Wizard and me, who do you prefer validation from more?
oh, GTO Wizard, absolutely.
You're just a rat. You're dead to me.
GTO Wizard sends me an email every day. Wes, you look even more handsome today.
Oh God,
Wes, you're doing such a great job. Here's some
Wes,
more. You're playing exactly like I would. You might as well be a robot.
Wes, you're a rat.
Yeah. Yeah. You call me a rat and it calls me handsome and
Uh,
brilliant. So
that's all I got. That's all I got.
that's all you got. You're just a rat.
Okay, so you were mentioning opponent type when barreling. So if we assume our opponent's going to be sticky, do you find times against sticky opponents where you will still complete running the bluff even though you know they're sticky? Like what does that look like?
Yeah, that will be because a lot of times if someone's sticky, it doesn't necessarily mean they're sticky across all streets. So,
Yeah.
because
Usually it's pre-flop and flop and sometimes turn. It gets harder to get sticky on the turn and river when the sizes start getting much bigger,
yeah,
becoming more significant of a portion of your stack.
yeah. And it goes back, in this example, it's like kind of a similar concept where I'm still just targeting like I guess the way I would look at it, are there a lot of auto folds? If we have a board of like king of diamonds, 10 of spades, 8 of spades, 5 of diamonds, and then the 3 of hearts rolls off on the river, and I have like
Ace queen.
I well, ace queen, we might have
We beat
showdown
Jack nine
value.
and stuff with that. Yeah.
Yeah, but let's say we have jack nine of hearts,
Okay.
where we don't
Well,
block any flush draws.
yeah, and a whiff straight draw.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so having one of the draws, but not unblocking the other draw. So if there's a straight draw and a flush out there, maybe trying to get them to fold the higher card flush draws.
I think, and actually, let's stick with the example we have up. So let's go back to the jack 7-6 queen 4 board. So in this case, like, we can bluff if we have like 9-8 of hearts or diamonds or whatever. That's much different than having a combo draw with spade. It's not so much about the straight draws because
Great point.
um the flush draws, like, those can contain any two cards of that suit,
Okay.
whereas the straight draw, it's like we're not specifically targeting 8-9 because, like, maybe that folds turn sometimes, etc. I guess the point being is, like, there can be, when we have 10-8 of spades, we block ace 10 of spades, ace 8 of spades, king 10 of spades, 10-9 of spades, 9-8 of spades, 9-7 of spades, or sorry, 10-7 of spades, 8-7, all these like different types of combos of it. So
Hmm.
it's mainly we want to not block the flush draw. Um,
Okay.
and so if we get here with 10-9 of hearts or 9-8 of hearts, we 100% want to bluff it, but just not the spades.
That makes
And
sense. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
and so to your point, if there's a sticky opponent, I will be more incentivized to bluff. Like, let's say there were, instead of just one flush draw on this board, let's say there are two flush draws. And let's say there's spades and hearts, and then we have 9-8 of clubs. We definitely have to bluff the river because they have so many hands where even if they're a sticky opponent, they're going to just easily fold the river because they have, king high, or they have fourth pair.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's just, so I would say yes, we want to bluff sticky opponents if we have a board where it makes sense that there are a lot of automatic folds.
Okay. Um, let's talk about running. So without giving out specific opening hands, let's talk about, can you come up with any good examples of when it would be good to, for example, say the flop is 10 high and the turn comes an ace, when it would be smart to continue bluffing an overcard like that versus the opposite of shutting it down to that. And I mean, it's clear that it's because, the ranging of what our opponents would be on, right?
Mhm.
Can you think of any examples of why we would continue on something like that versus that, or should we just skip on to something else?
No, that's a good question because there are times where, hmm. So the interesting thing about this is, so we'll say maybe it's like a 10-8-4 flop or
Hmm.
something. Um, if we bet big on the flop, we're probably not going to do that with a hand like ace king ace queen. So in that case, like, the ace might not even really connect with us. However, this is where our player type matters a lot because I think a lot of recreational to, even decent players, when we barrel again on the ace, will be like, he's got to have it. Whereas a more advanced player might recognize our large sizing on the flop and recognize that that's rarely going to contain an ace. Um,
Do you remember the hand last night where you texted me and I said you guessed my hand and I said nope, I have worse, but I said I'm calling this river anyways when it was like an ace or a king on the
oh
river.
yeah,
This is like
yep.
a prime example of that where he bet flop, he checked turn, but then bet river, I think. And anyways, I
I think
knew
he checked river, but you would have called river,
yeah,
right?
that's what it was. I was planning on calling river if he bet. He shut down his bluff there wisely because his story wouldn't have made sense. I don't even know I brought that up without remembering the action because it's hard to use that as a point. But anyways,
Well, I think because it was blind versus blind. You limped. He called, or he checked. Flop was 10-7-5. You check called. Turn 5, check, check. So pair board. River ace. And you're like, I'm calling, you texted me like, I'm calling if he checks or if he bets, excuse me. And he checked and you won. But it was like, it was a good example of how he's folding out nothing of yours, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um,
I
I mean,
can
I
I
guess
just
I guess
remind the people listening that I played that hand and Wes did not, yet he remembers the entire hand history and I
yeah, and I
don't.
was like, I had like a cash table. I don't know. I was doing something else at the time,
I
but
was in bed half asleep to be fair, but let's
yeah.
continue.
Um, I guess, if he has like four high, he can bluff because he actually, no, it's a good example. If he has like four high or something, because it's blind versus blind, he should still bluff the river because he can still fold out. If you could have straight draws, right? That's what he's targeting, but you're not folding out.
Any
Like if
pairs.
he has king high here, he should absolutely just check
What did
or
I
queen
have? Like deuces? I had like
threes. You had
threes,
threes.
yeah, pocket
Yeah.
threes. I have a good question for you, and this is going to be more geared towards, beginner to, medium skilled level players. But can you give any advice on how to keep your ego in check when you're, say, bluffing all the
No.
way to the? Yeah, Wes says cannot give advice on checking the ego. The ego stays with him everywhere he goes. But
Yeah.
how do you keep your ego in check when you've already invested chips in a lot of chips
Mm.
into a bluff? You know what I'm saying? Like,
How do you not just get married to it's like the same thing as don't get married to your hands, like you're allowed to fold aces if the board's terrible. It's sort of the other side where it's like, don't get married to a just because you started a bluff, you don't need to
yeah,
see it
and
through.
say you have, say you have 70% of your chips invested into this pot, but like you have a clear, knowing that you're not going to win this pot. Like you're not going to win this pot, and the only way you could win it is if you bluffed. However, you know that if you like your story doesn't make.
It's still a negative EV bluff type.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
still, yeah. So you literally just have to give it up and sometimes just take that L. It's about compounding your mistakes, and I think if you let that go, those few chips saved will be chips earned, as they say, right? Like penny saved is
Yeah.
penny earned.
I don't have a specific piece of advice, but I will just say that it is important to view each decision in a vacuum separately. You know what I mean? Like you yeah, it's the same sort of concept as when people say, "Oh, why would you buy in 6 times to a tournament? You won't even profit unless you make the top 7 or something."
Yeah,
Where it's like once you bust the first 5 buy-ins, it's the sixth one, it's its own buy. It's like
it's
playing a
still a new
tournament on a
tournament.
separate day. Yeah.
Yeah,
It doesn't min cashing is profit,
yeah, yeah.
And it's the same concept here where it's like the amount of money in the middle or the amount of chips in the middle does not really make it relevant because I've heard the opposite too where it's like people will just fold these small pots because it's like there's there's not enough in there to make it worth it, and it's like, well, it's all a ratios thing. Like it's about the risk to reward ratio. It's not about the raw amount. So even if the pot is big, like let's say we're playing some 510 and there's $1,000 in the pot, I've got 500 back. But then I come across a situation like this where I just think that if I bluff, it will not work enough to turn a profit long term.
Hmm, hmm.
I lose, I lose the pot. It just kind of is what it is, and it takes a lot of practice, I think, and a certain mindset to just like look at each situation analytically. And you know what I found about streaming, and I don't know how everyone else might implement this, but like explaining your thought process to yourself in a way, I think can help.
Yeah, I think that'll help keep you leveled and make a lot, less emotional decisions. For example, put in that last bluff when you know it's not going to work.
Hmm.
And to be completely honest, I'm guilty of it, and I don't know if you are because you're just a robot, as we know.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I've definitely done it.
yeah,
I think you can only be good at these things unless you actually are just a robot from day one. Like you can only really be good at these things when you've realized
when you've
that
been
you're
through
bad
it,
at them initially,
yeah,
Yeah.
and you've taken that time to reflect on your error. Is a
Yeah.
big important to part too, because a lot of people will do that and then just continue to do that. And then when you
Yeah.
look at their shark scope, their ability level is like 65. Those are the people who don't reflect on their errors. um,
Yeah.
just a joke. But do you, when you're running a bluff, will it change if you, how do I word this? Do you ever consider your own table image? Like if you've been caught bluffing a hand before, but you found a spot on the, like a next orbit, you find a spot where it's a great double barrel spot, but you've recently been caught bluffing. Is that going,
I
does
sorry,
that,
continue.
no, no,
Yeah.
I mean, you know where I'm
Yeah.
finishing this. Does that, does that, will that stop you from running a double barrel?
Um, no, not I would actually say that might make me, because I think in general,
Might make you look stronger because they don't think you're crazy enough to do it twice.
yeah, I don't think people, I guess I don't know how people perceive it, but if I see someone who's been caught bluffing recently, now if I can tell they're just sort of a maniac, then I'm gonna call them down. But generally speaking, I think when people get caught bluffing, they are more likely to not want to bluff again. So if they're showing strength, I think they lean towards strength.
Okay.
Shown if they've been caught bluffing in sort of maybe even a bigger spot, I think they're more likely to actually have it than
Okay.
normal. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that's how people perceive it, though. Like, I think it all sort of depends. Like, I'll also say, and this is a weird thing, like, if I've been caught bluffing, and even if I think the table thinks I'm kind of bluffy, sometimes, I'll bet flop. If I bet big on turn, I think sometimes they might overfold because they're like, oh, I'm going to face a big river bet anyways, and I don't want to have to be put to that test. So
100%
then
agree with that.
even if they think there's a decent chance they're being bluffed, I mean, you hear it all the time in live poker where people say, I know you don't have shit, but I can't call. And it's like, actually, you had a pair, like you could have
Yeah. If you
called,
think I'm
but
bluffing, you have a great bluff catcher.
r- you hear that all the time in live poker. Just shit that makes no sense when it you actually think about it. People will
They
say,
just want to get one up on you, Wes. Like they know that
they,
you're a lying piece of shit, but
yeah, they
they're
either
not
want to,
gonna they're not willing to
yeah,
put the money in because they're pussies. Sorry,
I,
sorry, forgive me.
I mean, it's kind of like there's truth to it, right? Like where it's like, okay, you're getting 3-1 on this potential turn call here, but you say you can't call. You also think I have nothing, but you just can't call. Like, why? Why can't you call?
Yeah.
Like, of course you can, but the truth is, like, people they don't actually know.
Well, if you're not all in and they know you're bluffing, they can sometimes then
They could
re-bluff.
re-raise too,
Yeah.
yeah, you know.
Okay.
I
Do
think
you
it's just sort of a hedge on people don't want to be embarrassed by getting bluffed, so they're like, I think you have. So even if then you show a bluff, then they can say they were right. I don't know.
I'm confident I know the answer to this question, but just for the listeners, at what point in the hand do you most often decide to shut down your bluffs? At what point of the hand? So like the flop, the
Uh,
turn, the river,
I
and
would
why?
say,
And why is it the turn and river?
well, it's hard to shut down a bluff on the flop, right? Because that's kind of when it starts. But I would, I know we've talked about this before, so I guess I almost don't even see the flop as a bluff because
Okay.
you can still even your bluffs have plenty of equity a lot of the time,
Mhm.
and sometimes it's a situation where let's say we have queen 10 of hearts and it's you know 9-3 deuce with a heart, we can still if we make a continuation bet, we're still ahead sometimes, but a hand like 6-7 is just going to fold where even though we were already ahead, we're still fine folding it out because it has about 25% equity. So
Okay. Okay.
I
Do
would
you?
say on the turn on the river is when I make a decision to shut a bluff down. On the turn is where I really decide if I'm gonna really start trying to fold out made hands.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. I think that. Yeah. That makes perfect sense. So you're a cash game. Obviously, you're a professional poker player. You do this for a living. You play tournaments. You play cash. Lately, you've been playing a lot more cash. You've been doing great in it. Um, that has no relevance to my future question, but do you um, do you find yourself giving up on bluffs more in tournaments than in cash games due to your tournament life equity, or is that a bad thought process to have?
If we're the one who's covered, then I think yes. If we cover our opponent, I would say it's the opposite, where I'm more likely to bluff.
Because you
And
can
it
always just
depends.
spin it, baby.
Yeah, you can, and it depends on the stage of the tournament too. Like i- in an early stage of a tournament, it's a little more similar to cash, and then in later stages, I'm much more likely to put someone to the test.
Okay.
Whereas I am much less likely to put my whole stack in on a bluff late in a tournament, I think.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I'm do we want to maybe linger on the top, well, not linger, but talk about the topic of maybe, well, I guess it doesn't matter. Would you say that ICM might pressure you into finishing a bluff even when it wouldn't if there's no ICM involved? Does that make sense?
mhm, yeah. Yeah, and I don't know that I don't know exactly where to draw the line, but I think yes, like there are spots where we we want to continue the bluff. I think especially I think the turn is especially a spot where we want to bluff a lot. Like if we raise pre and make a continuation bet on the turn, then continuing the bluff is good because a lot of people will then start to fold out made hands and they're afraid you're going to just shove on the river now.
Yeah.
So there's that psychological effect too,
Mhm.
where yeah, I think it is. I think when there's more ICM pressure on our opponent, we yeah, we absolutely want to be putting more pressure on them. Whereas like yeah, like we're talking about when we want to give up bluffs.
Mhm.
I think it can be tricky on the river because if we're against the player who has a lot of ICM pressure on them and then they call a big bet on the turn, that's a spot where maybe we consider giving up river because maybe we're getting trapped or maybe they've already committed to calling the river if they call turn.
Okay. Let me take a moment to pause the conversation. This is for the listeners out there. If you if you have questions regarding this topic or just questions in general, wherever you're listening to this, you should be able to see a message, a little button that says "Message the Suited Kings" at the top. So whether you're on Spotify, Apple, on our website at the Buzzsprout, or on YouTube, you can leave comments. But yeah, if you're listening on one of the streaming platforms like Spotify or Apple, there's going to be a little button at the top that says "Send us a message," and it should be right, where the links to all, the description is. So if you have questions regarding that, make sure to send us a message on there. We love to hear, whether it's fan mail, criticism, questions, whatever. So we've gotten it all. So make sure to click that button and let us know your thoughts. It is anonymous, so we will not be able to see who sent it. If you want us to respond to you, you can, give us your Twitter handle, your name, however you want us to respond. You got to let us know who you are, though, if you are interested in that. But we love to hear that fan mail or see that fan mail stroll in. So if you have questions, ideas, topic ideas, whatever it might be, like I said, criticisms, even, make sure to click that button. So, yeah, yeah, do that. Now, back to the content. Another question I have for you, Wes, is do you are you afraid to finish off a bluff if you're laying your opponent really good odds?
Yeah,
And
I
do you
mean that's
think
the
that if you and sorry, a follow-up question to that. Do you think that you've potentially made a mistake if in your sizings prior to that river bet, if you for example, your turn sizing was so big that your bluff sizing will only it commits, you know what I'm saying? It's only a
yeah,
small portion of the
generally
stack.
yeah, like if that's a situation, it's generally a spot where we should have like just gone all in on the turn or gone smaller on the turn.
Yeah. Yeah, because if they call the turn and they have that much left, most of the time if they're not folding the turn, they're not gonna fold the river.
Unless, again, unless there are those autofill because if you put most of their stacking on the turn and they didn't just jam on you,
Mhm.
maybe that's because they just have a draw,
Mhm.
and so maybe they can fold river. I do wanna go back. There are a couple more just, like, very standard sort of situations where you don't want to continue the bluff.
Okay.
Um, so and we've kind of alluded to it, but one simply is we have showdown value, right? Like, let's say, is your cat in the room again?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So let's say
She has a name, all right.
Juno.
There you go.
Yeah. She, anyway, so let's say we're still in that example of Jack 7-6 queen, and let's say we double barrel with a hand that we would triple barrel bluff, like 9-8 of hearts, but now the river's just an offsuit 9, and we have third pair. Now there's stuff we can just beat. Like, now if we were to bluff, we're targeting a much stronger range to fold out,
Yeah,
which
we're not
it's not to
targeting their
say.
non-paired straight draws that whiffed, we're targeting bigger pairs than ours.
Yeah, and it's not to say that we couldn't fold out a jack on that board maybe, but it's like we can still be good enough where the difference, the added amount of times we win is not worth the investment of the bluff. And or let's just say the initial run out, we have jack 7-6 queen 4 and we have ace king that we went and bet on. It's like, okay, now we beat some spade draw, some 10-8 of spades that our opponent could have, right? And yeah, so just in general, it's like if we have even a small amount of showdown value, we generally don't want to bluff unless we really think specifically that this opponent will fold out a better a better showdown hand. I think and then I think in a Patreon video you alluded to this, but a lot of times I think it's easy for people to not bluff because they're worried their opponent just has a strong hand, whereas, like, a lot of the times when we bluff, like, yeah, we're just we should be resigned to getting called by a decent hand, and if they hero fold, then that's even better, but we're mostly targeting hands that can fold easily, you
Right,
know?
right. And sometimes you
Um,
and let's be real, sometimes you're just gonna be wrong.
of course, yeah, and it's not, it's saying,
Maybe it's
like,
not
I
even
can
wrong, but it's maybe they're just gonna be at the
you
top of their range.
that's the perfect way to say it, like, we don't know what they have, but the lower to mid part of their range still beats us, but could fold to a is likely to
Yeah.
fold to a bet, and that's
And
what we're
sometimes
trying.
and sometimes they're just gonna be at that topper, that upper part of their range where they're not gonna fold it, and then you might say to yourself, like, "I'm an idiot," even though your bluff was correct, because
Yeah,
you're gonna get 80% of the hands they show up to that spot with the fold, and it's unfortunate that they just have that 20%. So, I think it's important to, don't use that as a way to, tell yourself it was good or bad, I would say.
yeah, and just remember the math on it too, like, if you bet half pot, you only need your bluff to work a third of the time or more. Like, because if you let's say I'm playing 5-10 and there's 1K in the pot and I have $500. Well, if I bluff all in for 500, when I win, I'm gonna have $1,500, right? And when I lose, I have 0. So
I
it's
think
like
I think there's a Patreon where had this happen very recently. We did it, I think, or maybe it was a Patreon video that we
that
were.
I think that's what I was alluding to. It was some level of cash game where I, like, 4-bet jack
And
10
I was like, "You're
suited.
not betting this river. You're not betting this river." And because I didn't think your opponent had much fold equity by the river, but you did it and it
It was
worked.
like half pot, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And it was a spot where it was maybe 9-6-4 ace, another low card, and diamonds missed, and I'm like, "Well, we have jack 10 of spades," like, I'm not saying he's folding an ace, but he can have all the diamond draws plus, like, some other maybe 9x that he called twice with. It's like right, it's the mentality of I'm not targeting an ace here, but that's not all that he can have, and I only need this to work 30 some percent of the time to make a long-term profit, which means when I make the play of going all in as a bluff, more than half the time I'm gonna get called and lose. So, just because it doesn't work out,
the
that's the
math
tough
says that if you do it enough, you're gonna make money in the long run. I think, again, that's
that's
probably the
one
most
of the toughest things about poker.
Yeah, people, I think, because people are so in the moment results oriented rather than if this is going to work over a sample size of hands, and I'm guilty of that as well. I think if people can really take that concept and engrave that into their thinking, they're probably going to just make a lot more money playing poker. I think
Yeah.
that's something I could work on myself a lot as well, is just remembering like, if this doesn't work now, if I continue to make this play, because of pot odds, I'm just going to, make money in the long run.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. I appreciate you, kind of reiterating that, as you will. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, do you have any other examples? I mean, I feel like we've covered, obviously, just like any poker concept or topic, we can really dive in deep. I think it would be really cool if we did some Patreon videos where we gave up bluffs, and then
Yeah.
do some hand reviews, gave up on bluffs we played, and then explain why we gave up on them or did not give up on them. So, yeah, make sure
Yeah.
to
We
check out our
can.
Patreon, by the way.
The one last scenario where we want to give up on bluffs is the board just favors our opponent's range too much.
Yeah, yeah.
And this could be, I don't have a specific example for this, but it could be like a board where we're up against the big blind and it runs out like 10, 7, 5, 6, 9, where an 8 makes a straight, where they have a ton of two pair and straight combos. And we have like king jack suited. And it's like, okay, are they going to believe that we have an 8 from early position? Like, they just have so many hands that can call us where it's like, and a lot of times this isn't even one where we get to the river, but it's like, let's say it's 10-7-5 and we see bet king jack suited, and then the turn is the 6 where 9-8 gets there and 6-8 makes it where it's like, okay, now if we take a look at all the hands they might call the flop with, some of them are really strong now and the other ones still aren't folding, and it's like, okay, we should just shut down. We shouldn't even start barreling the turn here.
I
So
think that's a good point. Yeah.
yeah, like there are just times when it's okay to just kind of give up a hand. It's sort of the same concept of like we talked about last week, why we don't donk bet on ace 10 3 or ace queen 4, where it's like so many of the hands that they have, even if we're representing something strong and we think it's credible, like they're going to have so many hands that just hit the board. And it's sort of the same in reverse,
Yeah,
and
yeah. I
what we're
think
talking
that's a
about
great
now.
point. I mean, you absolutely nailed it there. Yeah. Yeah, and I think if you feel like you're not confident in understanding that, just continue to play and think about it, and it will come to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I study board textures as well. Study baseline GTO is a great way to kind of get a good understanding of that as well.
Yeah. And, I think one thing that Chance Corneth said in our interview with him that actually I really appreciate it. And I almost wish I hadn't phrased my question this way because I agreed with his response. But I remember I asked him, like, why should people, what did I ask him? Why should people study GT, or like, why do people shy away from studying it? I don't know. He's like, whatever he said was like, it's not necessarily GTO you should study, but like just the math of poker, study equities of hands versus a specific range or a specific hand and learn that stuff. So, the math, like if you're getting 3-1 on the turn, if your opponent has these types of hands, like what your equity is.
If you want to know a really good and easy way to do that, if you're watching poker streams, it like not you can watch Wes's stream, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like cash
The
game
good
streams.
ones.
The good ones, yeah. No, streams where, whether it be a WPT or a WSOP or a cash game stream, and they show the equities of to say there's three people and on turn, it shows the equities of each hand. This will just help you or two people, for example. It'll give you, and if you see enough of these, you'll just start to ingrain them. You'll know when you're 50-50, 60-40, 70-30, 80-20, or just 98-2 or whatever it might be. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a great way to ingrain equities into your head is by paying
Yeah.
attention to those stuff. I think that's probably one of the best ways, or one of the ways that I learned by watching endless content and just digesting that information.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, Wes, I think this is a good place to start wrapping up with this episode. We will have a second episode this week. I will say that this episode, unfortunately, will drop the day after our meetup game. I really wanted people to tell the people that we have a meetup game tonight as we're recording this, but this won't release until after that meetup game is finished. tonight's
Yep.
meetup game on Clubs Poker. The winner is going to get a Suited Kings Tilted Compass hoodie
I need another,
collaboration.
I won the last
You ain't
one.
getting shit, all right, pal.
Uh,
All right.
okay.
Damn.
Okay.
You just maybe if you didn't look so damn ugly, all right.
Okay.
I
Yeah. Speaking
can't
of
help
though,
myself.
I got the club's poker hat on. So
You
what's
do
our
look, I
plan
will
to
say, you look might I mean, you need to keep that thing on because you went from like a 0 to like a 1.5.
Oh, that's really thoughtful. You're almost God, you're so kind.
Oh man, Wes,
So
I
so I was gonna say our plan. We're giving away. We have one, I think, one last free hoodie to give away, and then so we'll give that away to first, and
mhm.
then hats to first and second, or second and third. What's our
Let's just
plan
do
there?
a hoodie and so you'll get a Tilted Compass hoodie, Suited Kings hoodie for first, and then you'll
A
also get
club's hat.
a Clubs poker hat, and then second place we'll give a Clubs poker hat too.
Okay,
Um,
perfect.
that sounds yeah, that sounds good. And if you guys,
Now, what if I win again? Should we do second and third? I think for the hoodie, you need to actually win.
yeah,
I think we'll just give away 2 hats regardless, and if one of us gets first or second, like we'll do it to the third place
that sounds
finisher then
good. But I
for the
will
hat.
say, guys, if you want to play in the meetup game with us, make sure to use the link in the description to help support the podcast. If you sign up with that link, we'd much appreciate it. Hop into the to the next meetup game 2 weeks from now, which is Wes. Tell me the date.
The 16th.
Damn, you're good. It is the
I mean,
16th,
literally all I did was I looked at my screen, saw it was September 2nd.
and
You
added
had
14
14.
days. You're
Yeah,
so smart,
it's
dude. Um, But yeah, join us on the 16th for the next meetup game. We'll be doing more giveaways then. That'll be right around when we reach our 100th episode. If you guys make sure to tune in to our 100th episode, which should probably be next week, where we're going to do giveaways. I haven't told Wes this yet, but we're doing giveaways and
oh,
just to
jeez.
celebrate the 100th episode, to celebrate
Oh,
making it
yeah.
this far, to celebrate you guys, supporting us and giving us the time of day and enjoying our content and letting us know that. So we want to give back. So we're going to do that over our 100th episode. But also, if you win the meetup game, it's like, I don't know, what's it? Somewhere, it's typically between like 800 sweeps coins, something like that. Does that seem fair?
Yeah, I feel like 600 or 700 is pretty standard.
Yeah. I mean, it's a nice little lick, and you will not see softer play anywhere else,
No,
specifically because you're playing
even
against
even the
Wes.
good players, like you and I will never play worse than we play at the start of that tournament. So make sure
Oh,
to get in early too, because like obviously we want to win, but early on, I think we just
it,
we
it,
just want to launch
well, it's not just launch
within.
like randoms. It's launch Wes and myself. Like we want to launch each other. Like I will
Yeah,
take
and any
whatever
of our
spot.
friends, like if you know us, you probably have extra EV against us.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it might be unfair, but it's true. We're launching. But yeah, make sure to check out Clubs Poker, guys. We'd come hop in the streets with us. We want to. The cash games on there are absolutely incredible. Wes has been absolutely. That's where like a ton of his money from his bankroll challenges come from, is playing in the Clubs Poker cash game streets. The tournaments are great. The series are great. Make sure to sign up using that link to support us. And if you guys want some, if you don't end up winning that, but you still want to get a Suited Kings hoodie, make sure to check out the Tilted Compass website. Again, link in the description for that. The hoodies are just incredibly comfortable. They look great. I think we're going to work on getting some new designs here soon as well. So stay tuned for that. Um, Also, our Patreon. If you guys enjoy the way Wes and I talk, we go into some pretty in-depth hand breakdowns, discuss concepts, thoughts. We even listen to your suggestions to make content tailored again around that. So
Yeah,
um, you can find everything that we talk about in the description below. So to make sure to check that out. We also have our Discord, which finally eclipsed 300 members. I'm
there we
very
go.
thankful for that. Very thankful for everybody in there that's been, just a part of the community. It's been absolutely incredible. You guys are super, super, just awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
By the way, I am on about 3.5 hours of sleep after that tournament last night. So
yeah. You had to get up.
I had to get
You
up
have
and do
a
that thing called a job. So,
yeah.
yeah, anyways, anything else I'm missing on that end, Wes, besides your stream, your bankroll challenge?
Yeah, follow me at the Poker Cannon on Twitch. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
There's
Clubs
out
Poker,
there's
Patreon.
so many plugs. And lastly, guys, if you are interested in buying, selling any sort of real estate transactions, I've been in the real estate game for 11 years now. I've been a part of it with my entire family, my mom, my dad, my sister. We're all agents, and we've been doing it our entire lives. or at least involved in it in our entire lives. So if you want to, invest, sell, whatever it might be, I'd appreciate your business, and we'll definitely work hard for you. So make sure to reach out to me if that interests you. Wes also does one-on-one coaching. Make sure to check him out for that. Wes, you're still doing one-on-one coaching, right?
I do some, you know what though? Here's what I'll say about
I make
one-on-one
too
coaching.
much money playing online poker the way I'm coaching others. Was that a good Wes impression?
That was just spot on. I mean, I can't believe you took the words right out of my mouth. Um, no, so what I was gonna say is if you are someone considering one-on-one coaching, I think the students I work best with are people who are already like doing decently well and like are looking to maybe play professionally someday or like kind of aiming in that direction. Um, because I think there are better ways. I think if you're paying someone for coaching for a long time, like I wouldn't even necessarily recommend that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I would say I feel like there's some players where, or I guess wherever you are in your poker journey, like you maybe want to pay a coach to help you get to the next level, and then I don't know. It's tough to say. I know for me personally, like I will say, it was probably 4.5 years ago at this point. I I did a 2 or 3 lessons with Ian Matakis, and then we've done like a couple more over the through like 2021 and 22. We did a handful of sessions where I paid him for coaching, and those first two were super valuable, and the other ones were good too. But it was like I felt like I quickly caught on to some just clear leaks that I had,
Hmm.
and it's not that, I mean, he's an amazing player. Like I could still learn from him, but it's like the amount of money you invest in private coaching is more significant. You know, you could pay the same amount for a month of a training site as you do for an hour of coaching, or
Yeah.
a little less or a little more depending.
Would it be safe to say that coaching would be great to kind of get a foundation of how learning how you can study and then taking that off the coaching and implementing that to practice on your own time? So
That's a great way. Yeah, you absolutely need to be working on your own time too.
yeah,
That's what I'll say
but
too.
using
Like,
the coaching to find out how to, because it's not practice makes perfect, Wes. It's perfect practice makes perfect.
or
So
perfect practice makes you much better is what
I thought you
there's
were gonna
no,
say makes Wes. Perfect practice makes Wes.
dude, there are times when I'm not practicing enough. And like, I
We're
guess
all
the way I
guilty
would
of
look
that
at
for
it,
sure.
let's say look at it from like, let's say you're a basketball player and you're a high school basketball player who wants to be in the NBA someday. And you have like a weekly one-on-one coaching with like you know, LeBron James, right?
Yep.
Something that I'm not LeBron James, to be clear. Let's okay. No, I'm not making that comparison.
Continue, continue.
But no matter how good of a coach you have, if that player has a weekly one-on-one session with LeBron James, but then goes home and like isn't working out, isn't working on basketball on their own, like their coach might have the best insights, have the best advice, and give them good training, but like that training needs to be worked on in the rest of the week, you
Yeah.
know?
No, for
So,
sure. Yeah. I mean, if you want to get good, it requires repetitions. That's just the
yep,
way it is. So, yeah. I
yeah.
think that's a great place to wrap this up, Wes. This has been a super fun conversation with you, buddy. We'll do another episode actually with a special guest this week. And then from there, I will be heading out of town. I'll let you guys know how that went. Very much looking forward to it. It's always a good time in Council Bluffs, even though it's kind of a dusty, dust hole.
Yeah.
I like it there. I enjoyed my time
I
there.
I do too, I was planning on going, and then I'm like, the online is just appealing to me,
I
and it's
just I can't wait. I'll be sitting there Saturday and I'll just see your ugly ass walk in the door and then I'll
you
just
you
smile
you're
and go,
literally
I
you're
knew
gonna
it.
be you're gonna be on your 5th bullet, and it's gonna be max late reg, and I'm gonna just pull up with a starting stack at your table like, "What's up, Matt?"
Just send me
I couldn't
launch
help
and
it.
hit the rail,
Yeah.
buddy. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Looking forward to our next episode with a special guest. I'll leave that for when you guys listen to it. But we'll see you in just a day or two with the next episode of the Suited Kings podcast.